Every faction of enemies in ATOMFALL has different loot. So what are those factions and what is the loot? So the first faction are the Outlaws. Now the Outlaws are the first enemies you will encounter in the game. They are essentially bandits, and they kind of have what I like to think of as entry-level firearms and entry-level grenades. So one of the most common grenade types they carry are Molotov cocktails, and Molotov cocktails are actually pretty effective on them, because it turns out setting people on fire does a lot of damage and easily kills enemies. Outlaw groups are pretty mixed, with most of them having melee weapons and some of them having guns. The types of guns the Outlaws drop are the 22, the single shot shotgun, the double barrel shotgun, the Lee Enfield bolt action rifle, as well as the revolver. So here's some Outlaws that we killed. We have a rusty Lee Enfield, some rifle ammo, a little bit of water. The melee ones sometimes have grenades or random things. They tend to have blunt melee weapons, so that's something to note. So there's the revolver. So they drop entry-level rifles, entry-level shotguns, and an endgame revolver. And you could consider Lee Enfield endgame because it ends up forging to maximum damage. The Outlaw base is in Slatendale, but Outlaws can be found in all the regions outside of Wyndham Village. The next faction has the best weapons in the game, arguably, the Protocol. Now, the Protocol occupy Wyndham Village, but they can also be found in Skethermore, where they can be killed without aggroing guards in Wyndham Village. So, what weapons do they have? They do have some melee weapons, but they also have the two SMGs in the game, the Sten as well as the Peerless, and they have two pistols that you might confuse for each other. There is the 1911, and then there's also the High Power, both of which are magazine fed. They do not carry the Lee Enfield. Typically, they do not carry the 22, they do not carry the single shot or the double barrel shotgun or the revolver. Those are all Outlaw weapons. They do, however, also carry the Enfield LMG, as well as the best shotgun in the game, the Broadside Auto 5, and they also have the optic bullpup, as well as a carbine or rifle. So there's quite a lot that you can get from Protocol. They also tend to carry rusty and stock weapons, so very often if you kill a lot of Protocol, you will eventually get some stock weapons. Alongside the Protocol, you can find the Bard robots and the turrets on specific bases and in specific locations, so be on the watch out for those. It gives them a little bit of extra firepower and huge engagements, so if you were to, for example, start killing everyone in Wyndham Village, you're also going to be fighting robots and sometimes turrets. Protocol can be found in Wyndham Village, Skethermore, and in Casterfell Woods on the small outposts. They also, of course, can be found in Interchange, but you will not find them in Statendale. There's also ferals, which largely drop nothing, and usually will just waste your combat resources. There's melee ferals and ranged ferals. The ranged ferals will attempt to shoot a kind of like infection orb at you, but they can respawn at these locations, so you do have to be mindful of that. In terms of loot, sometimes they have miscellaneous crafting supplies, but beyond that, that's pretty much it. The final faction are the Druids. They largely use bow and arrow and melee. You can get arrows from them as well as bows. The bows cannot be crafted though, or upgraded. They just have the same base stats no matter what. And typically they are not hostile unless you get close to them or you are trespassing. So right now you can see they're kind of like hesitant, but then I point a gun at them and now they want to go. For the most part, there's just a bunch of archers and then also melee enemies that just rush you down. In terms of loot, they tend to have some of the worst loot in the game, some basic crafting supplies, occasionally a heal item, but largely just like arrows, never ammo though. So if you kill them with bullets, you will be finding that if you do not have a ton of ammo, you will run out. So maybe you want to pick up their bow and use it for a bit. The bow can one-shot headshot, so it's decent. It's also silent, and it does have its own perks, so if you want to go for like an archer, stealth archer Skyrim build, you can do that if you want. Those are the major factions and the weapons and items they tend to carry. If you liked this or found this useful, please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next Atomfall guide. Yeah.